All right, another NBA 2K roster analysis, breaking down the December 2nd roster update, which was the third roster update of the year. This update's being recorded on the 8th. It is about a week late, as I was a little under the weather. I didn't feel up to recording. I was basically a sore throat and pretty nasally, and like if I'm going to be talking for 2 hours, I don't want to be grossing people out, etc. So a couple notes before we get started. As you can see, I added. I'm going to be tracking each update in this doc. I added the total over here. I'm going to be tracking the total number of updates that a team has gotten throughout the season, so we can see if 2K is favoring one team over another. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time because this is like a week late and already teams have already played like 2 or 3 games. I am going to breeze through this as they've already played a couple more games. It kind of throws their sample out of whack anyway. Like next week there's going to be another update, so it's not really worth going too crazy over. I do also notate the team's record, what they did during the update cycle. So since November 18th, as that was the last update, basically their record through from November 18th through December 2nd. I think that is a little bit illuminating. And also I'm going to make not two roster updates. Instead of making 2 videos, I'm just going to consolidate this into one. So as soon as we break down all the teams, I'm going to jump into the positions and all that, and just go from there, as I don't anticipate that I'm going to spend a ton of time on each team relative to the last few. I am trying to be more concise in general, and if I could get these all down to an hour, that would be ideal, because there is a lot of information that gets crunched. But anywho, let's start with the 76ers, who were 3-4 over the update cycle. We saw pretty minor changes, plus or minus 1 for most guys on the team, minus 2 actually for Korkmaz, plus 2 for Thibault. Thibault entered the starting unit, but then was given back to Danny Green once he got healthy. Frickin' Korkmaz, he's been struggling with his shot. I guess another thing that's worth breaking down in advance, one of the reasons why I don't want to go too much into the box score stuff is pretty much the only meaningful attribute that changes on a bi-weekly basis. And when I say meaningful, like relevant to like the overall rating, is the 3-point rating. That's the only rating that 2K changes on a week-to-week basis that is drastically impacting the overall rating. So we can just generally tell from looking at a player's shooting percentage, like why their rating went down. They aren't really going up or down based on any of the other data that I've posted, like the rebound, assist rate. None of those attributes affect the overall rating as much as the 3-point rating does. And the 3-point rating also has a lot more fluctuation than these attributes. So, you're more likely to see a player get like plus 3 in like a defensive rebounding or some shit, but you would be more likely to see a player get like plus 10 in 3-point, depending on how hot or cold they might be. So Korkmaz, we can see, drops below 50 true shooting, so pretty clear why his rating dropped. And Tobias Harris, 54 true shooting. Likewise, this is a big drop off from where he was last season and even earlier in the year, so it makes sense for his rating to drop. And then conversely, we see that Thibault and Danny Green both have true shooting in excess of 60. So that is again, more or less the thinking on all that. So Paul Reed, he doesn't really fall into that, but he's been in the rotation. He got a plus 1, and we can see from his overall production, he is playing well. And the only reason he really doesn't play more is because of the depth of the Sixers. They were without Joel Embiid and even Tobias Harris for a big portion of this cycle, so that's why he was able to get his opportunity and show out. He was the G League MVP last year, so hopefully he gets more opportunity moving forward, because I definitely believe that he is a much better player than a 73 overall. Let's go on to the Milwaukee Bucks, who were 7-0 in this update cycle, and they had 6 players change in rating. They're up to 17 on the year. And we see Chris Middleton, even though they went 7-0, Chris Middleton, he struggled with his shot. 2K isn't really factoring in the team performance. Like 7-0 means that their defense probably improved considerably, and they, for the most part, are only looking at the offensive side of the ball attributes wise. Like if they do boost a player's defensive attributes, it might be like a +1 to his on-ball defense or something like that. It's never something that actually changes the overall rating. So Middleton down 2 points. George Hill, he dropped a point. He doesn't have a great assist rate for a point guard, but he also spends a lot of time at the 2 guard. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed that Grayson Allen didn't go up in rating, as he's been playing really well and obviously shooting the ball equally well. Bobby Portis is having for the most part, a career year, as he's been filling in for Brook Lopez, who just had back surgery and could be out for the season. He's definitely going to miss a considerable amount of time. The Bucks did sign DeMarcus Cousins to a non-guaranteed deal, but he'll probably stick with the team throughout the year as long as Lopez is out. Really good fit for him. Worth noting, the team cut Kalaitzakis after this update cycle. I forget who exactly they signed. It could have been just, I think, to pick up DeMarcus Cousins. I can't remember exactly. Oh no, they signed, dang it. Give me I guess I'll click and I can figure it out. Wesley Matthews, yes. All right, Wesley Matthews, great addition to the team. He played with the Bucks previously. It was a great fit in their system. One of the better veteran free agents out there. So I didn't think that Kalaitzakis was very good. He was extremely raw. He was the 60th pick in the draft. He was extremely raw, and he wasn't really much of a prospect. He was already 23 years old, pretty much only drafted because he hailed from Greece. You know, they wanted to give that nice little wrinkle because they got Giannis and Thanasis, but he's definitely like G League caliber, and they made the right call, I think, to bring in a guy like Wes Matthews, especially since they started off the year, with so many guys banged up that they struggled a little bit out of the gate. Obviously, they are back on track since. Thanasis up. He's been having a good year. Rodney Hood down. Injuries have knocked him out of being like an NBA caliber player, unfortunately. And Pat Connington, he got a +2, well deserved. He's likewise in the middle of a career year, and as noted, 65 true shooting. His 3-point percentage is the reason why his rating goes up. So let's go on to the Bulls. I was a little curious to see DeMar DeRozan's rating drop, and that's going to become very evident once we break down the positions, like how foolish that decision is. But he did not shoot as good from 3. He's not a volume 3-point shooter anyway, but it was worth noting that he shot 20% from 3 in this rating cycle. So that's maybe why he dropped. I don't know. I disagree with it. Zach Levine, he's kind of been struggling a little bit. If you recall, he is playing hurt. He hurt, I think, his thumb on his offhand. So he's been playing through it. His shooting percentage kind of reflects. He's still going strong. If he were to get sidelined, the Bulls don't really have any alternatives because Kobe White has been absolutely terrible since his return from injury, and he's actually been out for the last couple games due to COVID-19. So he'll be sticking with this 76 rating probably for the foreseeable future, if not dropping even further. I was a little surprised to see Derrick Jones Jr. not go up, given how well he's been playing. But again, it's not that surprising because he's not a 3-point shooter. This is really the only attribute they are looking at. They couldn't care less about his block rating, how good he is at the rim, etc. And Chavante Green, he returned to the starting lineup, but they dropped his rating. Vucevic, it's okay for him to drop because he's been struggling mightily with his shooting. And the Bulls went 4-3 in this update. Nothing really else to write home about. Nothing really with the bench stands out. So let's go over to Cleveland. 3-3 since 11-18, but it's worth noting that the 3 games they lost were the 3 that Evan Mobley missed, and then they win 3 games with him. So he's been he was supposed to miss much more time than that. He was supposed to miss 2 to 4 weeks, and he came back in 1 week. So He's back on track for Rookie of the Year. Laurie Marketing looks like he's turned a corner as he shot the ball really poorly to start the year, and he's been a lot better since returning from his injury. Jared Allen is more or less having a career year. 71 true shooting, solid defense. Him and Mobley have combined to really shore up the Cleveland defense, which is a big part of why they've been winning games. Darius Garland, I guess the numbers don't really do him justice. People are very high on him, but when we look at the actual point guards, it's going to show that statistically, this boost doesn't really merit itself. And this is actually supposed to be an 85 rather than 84, so I'm going to fix that. Oh no, never mind. I can't read. Right. So I'm actually going to clean up this area. I found during these videos I'm not really using this portion. So I'm going to, especially since all of this is going to start, once we get up to week, the 8th roster update will be over here, taking up most of the screen. So I found that I originally wanted to have the depth chart information and stuff like that. But I feel like I'm never using it as a reference point. So I'm going to eventually cut those out and just have everything sorted like this. Let's see. Kevin Love, he's been playing really well, especially since his return from injury. 79, maybe even underselling how good he's been. A willing role player this year coming off the bench after being talked about as a buyout candidate. He's bought into his role, so good to see him. He's also playing next to Ricky Rubio, his former Minnesota teammate, so they've got some good chemistry, and he's a big part of why Cleveland's winning games. The Dylan Windler dropping 3 points is mind-boggling to me. He's somebody who I actually will go into his box information because it's just straight up not making sense. So from 11/18 to December 2nd, he played a total of 4 games, and 18, 26, 38, 42 minutes. He played 42 minutes and his rating dropped by 3 points. And yes, he didn't shoot well, but I mean, he took 4 shots per game. You're dropping a player 3 points for going 0 for 3? This is what happened? I don't get it. I don't know what they're doing out there. Let's move on to the Celtics. Jalen Brown, I was a little shocked to see him go down at first, but then I saw his numbers. He in his return from injury, his efficiency's kind of not there. He's not really much of a playmaker. God forbid Jason Tatum get penalized though, because he's basically in the same ballpark as Brown. You see it player efficiency wise. And his shooting's been even worse all year, but that hasn't really gotten noted by 2K. Yeah, so once we get to the position breakdown, that'll show out even more. I'm okay with Marcus Smart going up a little bit. He's been shooting it a little better. Ditto for Josh Richardson. Enes Freedom. I'm not sure they boosted his rating, but his play didn't really reflect it. It's worth noting that his rating didn't actually drop because of his play. His rating dropped because he was out of the rotation, and you need to drop his rating in order for him to not be the top backup on the Celtics and get way more minutes a game than he should be getting. Instead of being out of the rotation, he was getting 28 minutes per game. Because of how the 2K AI does the rotations and whatnot. But he is in the rotation now. He has been playing, but with the 51 true shooting, this is by far the worst offensive season of his career, maybe since his rookie year. So, the +2 is kind of weird because he's definitely worse than last season. But they just are getting him back to the level that he was at previously. And based on what he did with the Blazers, I would have given him an 80. He was one of the better backups in the NBA. But Yeah, everything else pretty straightforward. Pritchard has been brutal this season in his limited minutes, 31 true shooting. And ditto for Juan Hernan Gomez in even more limited minutes, 5.6 PER, 34 true shooting. And the Celtics were 5-2 during this update cycle. They did start the season a little slow. Looks like they are turning a bit of a corner. Let's go to the Clippers, who more or less fallen off after starting the season kind of hot. Paul George, a lot of people have been like, we're talking about his rating versus like Jimmy Butler, but like it's really not close. His shooting percentage is kind of fallen off a cliff. 54 true shooting, 19 PER. Yes, he has a high usage rate, but like his production's looking more like Jason Tatum than like a Jimmy Butler at the present. And for what it's worth, I do think that Jason Tatum should be much lower than an 88 at present. Probably should be like an 85, 86. So like, you know, if you're gonna look at Tatum and George's ratings, it's George isn't that bad. Like, no, I would say he should be like a -3, and maybe like then George's rating would be fine, or have him at like an 88, 89. I don't know. Reggie Jackson, he's been like up and down all year. Eric Bledsoe, more or less the same. The Clippers rotation guys, looks like they shot the ball poorly from 3 this cycle, so they'll go down a little bit. Ivica Zubac, he should be higher than a 78, to be honest. He's pretty clearly like the second best guy on this team. Hartenstein's also been like a permanent monster for the Clippers off the bench, so it makes sense for his rating to go up, but there's no way that like Zubac shouldn't be like so also if Hartenstein has a higher rating than like Nick Batum, that's a little wild. Yeah, for Batum to be rated lower than Marcus Morris and Hartenstein, that's stupid. I would have Batum probably like a 79-80 and like Zubac at a 79-80 also. Ibaka, he's been struggling since his return from like his back injury. Probably gonna take him a little while to get going, and the fact that Hartenstein has been so good, you know, really limits his his potential for minutes to really build out his season production. And yeah, everybody else not really doing much. So let's go to the Grizzlies, who are 4-3 since during this rating cycle. John Morant continues to do the thing. Desmond Bain. 3-ball went up, so his rating goes up. Ditto for Jaren Jackson Jr., who's quietly having a pretty solid season. Kind of like a unicorn light. Kyle Anderson, his 3-ball fell off a little bit, so his rating drops. Tyus Jones, likewise, his 3-ball has been good, so he goes up. Dillon Brooks, he likewise goes up. And I think also, for what it's worth, I have these guys sorted by minutes played. As we get deeper into the season, I think I will start sorting by overall, just so things like now that most players have enough of a sample anyway, like I think that will help at least with the visuals. Oops. As we track some of these guys. But Dillon Brooks started the season hurt. That's why he's all the way down here. And yeah, he's been with a 32 usage rate. That's pretty solid for the 51 true shooting on 32 usage. Again, compare that to what Jason Tatum has. 50 true shooting on like 30, I think the same usage. Like, you know, that's just indicative of how much Tatum has really struggled this year. Let's go to the Hawks, who went 5-1 in this cycle. So predictably, a bunch of their ratings go up after everybody went down in the prior cycle. So Trey Young looks like he's been the best point guard in the Eastern Conference this year. 25 PER. Is that higher than? Yeah, that's higher than John Morant now. So him and Morant are basically in the top 3 of point guards this season. Clint Capella bounced back a little bit. Kevin Huerter, he goes up a point, but like he shouldn't have been dropped to begin with. Predictably, he's been playing well since entering the starting unit for DeAndre Hunter and then Bogdan Bogdanovic, who is out with an injury. Cam Reddish played a little better off the bench. And Lou Williams struggled in his opportunities, so nothing much else to see here. So I still think that John Collins is a little bit underrated. 65 true shooting, only 19 usage. He's criminally underused by the Hawks right now. Trey Young needs to get him more involved, as there's basically no excuse for like Cam and Lou Williams to have mid-20s usage while John Collins is like fighting for scraps with fucking Bogdanovich, Huerter, etc. Let's go to the Heat. 3 and 4 since 11-18. They dealt with some injuries. Bam Adebayo's been out, and he'll miss the next like 4 to 6 weeks with a thumb injury. And Jimmy Butler, we see 27.9 PER. Once we get to the small forwards, you'll see just how good he has been. At 94 overall, some people were like a little critical of that, but it is well deserved. He's basically putting up a Kawhi Leonard type of season between his efficiency, his defense, and his playmaking. So and he's still getting to the line at a very high rate. His only weakness is his 3-point shot. So everything else he does extremely well, among the steals leaders in the NBA. And the Heat, at least prior to this cycle, had been winning a lot of games. So definitely having an All-NBA season, a shoe-in for the All-Star game, etc. Caleb Martin shooting well. Dwayne Dedmon, A, shooting well. B, primed for a big opportunity with Bam's sideline. So expect his rating to continue going up in the next cycle, in the next update probably. And Gabe Vincent, he was out of the rotation to start the year, but has been in the rotation the last for this cycle. So let's check his box real quick. We can see he had a couple DNPs, he was definitely out of the rotation here, and then from 11-18, really that's about when he started getting good. He had 18 points, 6 of 12 shooting, follow his second straight quality performance, and then for the cycle he averaged 13 points per game on 46% shooting, 46% from 3. So once again, good 3-point numbers for him, leads to boost, but and a 5-point boost. So I don't think it was only his 3-point shooting. They just, since he's part of the rotation, he needed to get a boost to get him in line with guys like Caleb Martin, etc. It would be nice if they would notice the performance of like Max Struss, Markieff Morris, the rest of the backups on the team. Vincent now has a higher rating than PJ Tucker, and is now tied with Duncan Robinson. I don't care how much Duncan Robinson has been struggling. This is too low. And for PJ Tucker to be this low, like, that's a fucking joke. And 2K should be taking a task for that. Oh, geez, speaking of which, I haven't graded... I mean to grade all these teams. I knew I was flying through this. All right, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit. I knew I was forgetting something. Jeez. All right, so for the Sixers, I think they get a B or an A. Pretty much everybody that should have gone up went up and down. Yeah, let's A for the Sixers. For Milwaukee, more like a B, kind of like a B plus. I'll give them an A because they did boost Pat Connington, and I'm okay with like Middleton dropping down. Yeah, there's nothing really like. I'm just like very happy with like Grayson Allen this year, but it's fine to not boost him. We'll give an A for the Bucks again. Bulls, they're fine. I'm gonna give a B because like DeRozan really shouldn't have been dropped. Cleveland, yeah, the Dylan Windler thing is really weird. And Chetty Osman probably could have gone up too. And like I think they overshot on Darius Garland. I think he was fine at like an 83. I'm gonna give it a B for the Cavs, which is their first non-A grade. Boston, like I guess they get a C. I still like for as long as Tatum remains up here, I'm not. I can't give them anything better than that. But they passing grade for at least like adjusting the rest of the bench. The Los Angeles Clippers, what I talked about with like Batum being too low and like Yeah, I think they're a C. Grizzlies. Yeah, I think this is an A. As everybody performed better. The Hawks, I gave them a D because they dropped everybody, and some of their decisions for like Huerter shouldn't have gone this low. They get a B, I think. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm in a good mood. We'll give them a B. Heat. I think we give a C. Maybe a B. Like the biggest strike against them is like the PJ Tucker. Yeah, you know what? PJ Tucker's kind of like in the same vein as like the Jason Tatum thing. I can't give them any higher than a C if they're not going to be fixing that. All right, so let's go to the Hornets now. 4-4 since 11-18. Miles Bridges, his production's really tapered off of late, which maybe reflects him. Actually, the Hornets have really been 500 throughout the year, so I don't think that's affected them too much. LaMelo has remained the one constant for them. Great assist rate and great rebounder as well. Gets a lot of steals. He hits threes in volume. So yeah, he's well worth the 87. I think, well, I guess this is fine. Oubre goes up. Yeah, he's been playing pretty well off the bench. And Terry Rozier, more or less is back to normal. He had really been struggling out of the gate, coming back from an injury, but his production's pretty much where it was last season, so it's okay for him to go up. Everybody else on the squad, nobody really stands out. We'll give it an A for like the Hornets. They're one of the easier teams, I think, to keep track of because they run a tight rotation. Going to Utah, 5-2. Oh, yeah, worth noting. Only 3 updates for the Hornets, 4 for the Heat, 16, 15, 16. So another reason I wanted to keep track of this is I feel like we're gonna, as we go forward, we're going to see that a lot of the earlier teams have already gotten like 20, 19, 24, 20. The earlier teams are getting focus, like a lot more focus. Now, once we get to this like middle tier, like after the first like 8, 6 something teams or so, it seems like to me 2K's focus wanes a little bit. So we're going to see that as we move forward, I think. But 3 updates for the Jazz in this cycle. Donovan Mitchell goes down. I don't really know why. Like, again, they're just watching his 3 percentage, and that's pretty much it. But the team's been playing really well. And again, once we compare him to the other 2 guards in the league, that rating is going to look stupid. Bogdanovic has been shooting well, so he goes up. And Clarkson been shooting a little better. He was really awful like the first month of the year, so it's totally okay for him to go trickle up a little bit. And nothing else to really write home about here. Hassan Whiteside's been really impressive for the team, basically like a baby Gobert. It looks like Joe Ingles has fixed his shooting efficiency, but that doesn't get noticed by the 2K team at all yet. Mike Conley's likewise been really efficient. The Jazz are one of the more, I think they're the best offensive team in basketball, and they got Rudy Gay back from injury in this cycle as well. He played really well, but that didn't seem to affect his rating at all yet. 70 true shooting would be his career high. Obviously, it's only 132 minutes, but it's worth keeping an eye on. If he repeats like this for this cycle, he absolutely should go up. I'm going to give I guess a C to the Jazz. I think Rudy Gobert is criminally underrated at a 90. His free throw rate is absurd. 74 true shooting. This is the best defensive rebound rate in history. Him and Joker have this rebound rate right now. So yeah, I'm gonna give a C to the Jazz. They're not doing. 2K's not doing a ton with them. All right, Sacramento. And like I said, here as we get to like this mid-tier, we're going to see or not mid-tier, but like the middle teams. Those don't really get focused on. We see he had only 3 updates in the last update, and then 3 updates in this update. 3 rating updates in this update. So only 11 on the year, which I think is the second lowest rate, or second lowest number of rating updates that his team has gotten this year. The Kings were 3-5 since 11-18, and they fired Coach Luke Walton. DeRozan and Halliburton never really struggled this year. Hield kind of tapered off a little bit. He's been coming off the bench in a 6-man role. He's been shooting the ball well, but I'm a little surprised that he didn't go down. If we compared his production to like Grayson Allen, for example, who's a 78, pretty clearly Grayson should be higher rated than Hield, I think. Harrison Barnes, he dropped down in rating, but he's been the best player on the team for the most part, him and Richaun Holmes. And for those 2 guys to be lower rated than like De'Aaron Fox just kind of sells that like 2K doesn't know what they're doing with this team. Richaun Holmes, 75 true shooting, and the defense completely falls apart when he's not on the court. The Kings have like 5 or 6 centers, but none of them besides Holmes can play. Thompson goes up, I guess, because his production went up. His offensive rebound rating is higher than it was last season. I don't really know why Mitu. Well, okay, so Mitu goes down. His true shooting's at 48%. That's not good for a power forward center. I'm gonna go C on the Kings, maybe even D. I don't necessarily think that like Barnes should have had his rating dropped. Again, if we compare like his production to Tobias Harris, who's like an 86, they're not too far off. If anything, Barnes is probably having a better year. So like, what's the point of really dropping him? Actually, yeah, I'm gonna go with a D for the Kings. All right, Knicks, 3-3 since 11-18. Kemba Walker lost his starting job, so he gets his rating decreased. Alec Burks, is not a center. He is definitely a shooting guard, small forward, point guard, whatever. Just not a center. He's a weird one. And his rating goes up. It should be even higher. He should have been an 80 from the jump. Even when he was coming off the bench behind RJ Barrett, he was a better. He's just a straight up better player than RJ Barrett. And RJ Barrett, for him to only go down 1 point, like his production's a fucking joke. There's no reason that he should be an 82 overall, like a top 10 small forward in the NBA. 49 true shooting. I take pleasure in like going into this. So for the 11-18 update, Barrett shot 37% from the field, 33 from 3, 10 points per game, only 26 minutes per game because, again, he'd been struggling, so he had been getting fewer minutes. And over the last 2 rating cycles, what was the last update? I'm sorry, 11-4. Over the last 2 rating cycles, he's shooting 33% from the field, 24% from 3, 11 points per game in his last 13 games. How did his rating only drop 2 points? This is a fucking joke. Sorry. Randall drops. He's not been, only 52 true shooting. He has not been playing at the all-star level that he did previously. He has the same rating as like John Collins, but like if we compare his line, 52 true shooting, well, I guess 28 usage, but like just in general, this just kind of sells home that like John Collins should be getting a lot more touches, I think, than he's currently getting from the Hawks. Fournier has been struggling. He might make a lineup change with him. Quickly had been playing well off the bench, so he gets a little tweak up. Yeah, I'm giving a D to the Knicks, just based on like the RJ Barrett thing is a fucking joke. They would get an F if not for, they dropped Randall, Fournier. I don't necessarily think they needed to drop Kemba, even though he's like out of the rotation. It's not because like offensively he's actually been fine, 56 true shooting. If you compare this to other point guards, as we will eventually, his overall production is fine. It's just more like he doesn't fit Thibs' system, and Thibs is not willing to adjust for Kemba Walker. So that's the only reason he's out of the rotation. It's not because like he wasn't playing well. He's basically on par with Emmanuel Quickly, honestly, when we look at his production, if not like slightly better. But yeah, Burks should have been higher than this from the jump. And RJ Barrett and Alec Burks should basically switch ratings. So yeah, D for the Knicks again. Lakers. This should be a good one. All right, Lakers 4-3 since 11-18. They got LeBron back, I believe, in this cycle. Towards the tail end of it, though. And we see LeBron with a 96. Did not have a rating change, and at 11 games, like, this is enough of a sample to, like, drop him. He's not getting to the line anywhere near what he used to. His usage rate, assist rate, and especially his rebound rate are much lower. Obviously, Westbrook is a rebound hog, but even still, for LeBron's rebound rate to be this low is kind of telling. Like, that in itself probably should have dropped his rating a point. LeBron doesn't need to be a 96, like the second highest rating in the game. He could very easily be a 94, which was given to Jimmy Butler, who, as if we compare these guys, Butler's having the significantly better season than LeBron right now. You could have him in between Paul George and Jimmy Butler, because that's basically where his production's been. But instead, they don't change him. They instead decided to drop Anthony Davis, who, for the most part, is he's the best Laker by far. So I don't really get that. Malik Monk goes down. He'd been shooting okay. I don't really get that. Ditto for like Wayne and Ellington, 62 shooting. I don't know. THT drops because his first 3 games were basically a mirage. Basically fell back down to earth, and honestly, what is he doing like spacing wise? It's killing the team. Bradley starts for the team. Bazemore doesn't. Both these guys are 72. Austin Reeves got no love, even though he's basically playing 20 minutes a game on par with those guys. Dwight Howard, I don't care if he's starting now, absolutely should not be the 5th highest rated player on this team. And we can see, like, production-wise, like, him and DeAndre Jordan are indistinguishable, so why is one of them 2 points higher than the other? Yeah, we are going back to an F for the Lakers, and they're going to continue to get that grade, especially if they don't touch LeBron. But in general, like, all the changes that they made, aside from THT, I would say were, they're debatable. I would call them pretty questionable. So, 3rd consecutive F for the Lakers. 2K maybe should pay attention to one of the more popular teams in the NBA. The Orlando Magic, 1-7 since 11-18. Jalen Suggs, he got hurt. He's been out of the lineup. Only 2 rating adjustments for this team, you'll notice. Again, is something I wanted people to keep track of once we get to this range. That's no bueno. Gary Harris and RJ Hampton, I guess, go up for, I don't know what reason. I guess Jalen Suggs has been out, so that's led to more consistent playing time for the two guards behind him. Okay, sure. But Mo Wagner, he's been ahead of Robin Lopez in the rotation all year. Basically on par with him across the board. Rates 6 points lower than Robin Lopez. That's a fucking joke. Rates lower than Michael Mulder, who's not in the rotation, obviously is not playing well. Cole Anthony's been okay. And yeah, Franz Wagner, pretty underrated compared to like most other rookies, even though they did boost him like 3 points since the start of the year. I think we are giving a D for the Magic. Um, yeah, we see Terrence Ross and Franz Wagner, completely different seasons. 8.6 PER versus 13, 52 true shooting versus 50. Similar usage. Wagner's the much better rebounder. And obviously starts over Terrence Ross. So, yeah, we're going with a D for the Magic. They could have, if they had dropped Ross and boosted up Wagner, maybe I would have given them an A, but the fact that they only had 2 rating adjustments this cycle, not a great sign. We see another team here with only 3 rating adjustments. Porzingis going up 2 points, and Tim Hardaway Jr. going down a point. Hardaway Jr.'s been struggling. Porzingis, as you can see, basically back to unicorn status, so okay for his rating to go up. Luka has barely been touched, only dropped 1 point this year. Has not been shooting the ball particularly well, although it looks like everything else is back to normal for the most part. I guess I'm okay with him hanging steady. Jalen Brunson, if we compare his production to like Darius Garland, it looks like he's a little underrated. Probably on par with guys like Derrick Rose, etc., as far as like the top backup point guards in the NBA. Other than that, the other rating update is Moses Brown, who, again, so this is something that I've been talking about for weeks on end, if not months, as Moses Brown was the highest rated center on the Dallas Mavericks, even though he was the 4th string center on the team. And 2K finally heard that criticism and reduced his rating. Obviously, it wasn't based on any of these 32 minutes that he played. And they just did it to drop his rating, similar to what they did with Cantor previously. So I'm content with that. I will give the Mavericks a B just on that principle of them finally getting around to Brown and for them boosting up Porzingis. Although I might talk myself down to a C, because again, if we compare Porzingis' production to like that of Tobias Harris and other players on the power forward list, they could have gone a little harder, I think. Yeah, I will give a C for the Mavericks. Again, they don't get bonus points for doing what they were supposed to do. You get bonus points for going above and beyond, not just doing your job. All right, Brooklyn Nets 4-1 since 11-18. Only 2 rating updates in this cycle. And we can see for them only 16 on the year. KD goes down. I guess they're just looking at a shooting percentage, which is down 2 points since last cycle, if I recall. Patty Mills, he goes up because he's been shooting well. He's been starting for Joe Harris, who's out for like the next 4 to 8 weeks. Joe Harris not exactly having a great... Well, I guess he actually is having a good year. 62 true shooting. Has the same rating as Duncan Robinson, who has a 49 true shooting. So that in itself doesn't make sense. Lamarcus Aldridge starting for the team, and career high 62 true shooting for him. Career high block rate. He's really good and hasn't had his rating adjusted all year. So there was that. He's been the 3rd best guy on the team consistently throughout the year. Blake Griffin completely lost his job with only 40 true shooting. Aldridge has clearly been much better than that. No adjustment for James Johnson, even though he's been in the rotation over Paul Millsap. Yeah, I'm not really thrilled with what they did with the Nets. James Harden, they did not boost him back up. Again, he's more or less like gotten the hiccups out of the way. 60 true shooting, getting to the line at a higher rate than he did last year. Great pass rating. He's getting steals and blocks, solid rebounder. Like, what more do you want from him? Yeah, we're giving it a D. a D to the Nets. Things started off well, but they have not continued at that rate. So going over to Denver, 1-6 during the cycle. They've been without a lot of guys due to injuries. Michael Porter Jr. is out for the year. A lot of guys are out with COVID, etc. Joker having still the best season in the NBA right now, 66 true shooting. All-time great. The number one defensive rebound rate in NBA history at present, coupled with a 38 assist rate. That's fucking absurd. 66 true shooting on 31 usage is like that's on par with like Steph Curry and Kevin Durant. On top of him being, a great rebounder and like not embarrassing defensively. So like I don't see why he wouldn't be at 97. On par with some of the other guys who are going to be in the MVP conversation all year. Other than that, Will Barton's been a little underrated. If we compare Will Barton, his production to like RJ Barrett, it's fucking night and day. So yeah, definitely underrated there. And kind of ditto with Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon's been playing well. He goes up, but like production-wise, he should be a little higher than that too. Green and Campazzo go up because it looks like their shooting went up. Ditto for Bones. Austin Rivers has only dropped 1 point. 43 true shooting, not great. PJ Dozier's out for the year, unfortunately. I will give a C for the Nuggets, but like some of these guys should be a little higher. And it's kind of reflected in the grade. All right, Indiana Pacers. They got 7 updates this cycle. And between them and the Celtics, they have 24 rating edits this year. That is most in the game, and which means they are averaging 8 rating updates per roster update. So they have been very focused on. Part of that is because like they've had so many like injuries, guys in and out of the lineup, that it's created opportunities for various players. And at press time, but not at the time of this cycle, the Pacers just announced that like they're going to be trading. They're probably going to be going through a rebuild. They're going to be looking to move off some of these guys at the deadline. So Sabonis, Brogdon, and Turner could all be on new teams in 2 months or so. And those guys have all been solid. Miles Turner looks like he's a bit underrated here. 65 true shooting. One of the better block rates in the NBA, if not the best one. And Sabonis, he's been playing at. He's continued to do things to pass the ball, rebound, score efficiently, get to the line. Really, his only foible is his shot blocking. But that's basically the same foible that like Julius Randle has, and Randle has not been able to score the ball efficiently this year. So, Chris Duarte continues to struggle a little bit shooting the ball, so he drops a little further. TJ McConnell's out for the year. Probably should have had a higher rating than this though. Prior to him going down. Holiday shot the ball a little better, so he goes up. Ditto for, well, I'm not really sure what happened with Kalan Martin going up. I guess at a 72, he was a little underrated. I'm not exactly sure what he did to merit getting a +2 though. So I guess let's check that out. All right, in this cycle. 8 points per game, 17 from 3, 41 from the field, 18 minutes per game. I don't get it. He had 2 games in double figures, but not really seeing what else he did. And Jeremy Lamb, he shot the ball well, so he goes up. Koga Batadze, he did not shoot the ball well, so he goes down. The straightforward, pretty straightforward. I'll give the Pacers a B, I guess. They should have boosted Miles Turner, I think. Maybe Lamb should be a little higher too. They did drop Levert 2 points. He's been really struggling. Basically, again, for them to have Levert in an 80 and RJ Barrett in an 82 is just fucking insane. Yeah, I'll give a B for the Pacers, sure. We've consistently been a B. Again, I expect that when if they're going to be paying attention to them more than the other teams. Although that hasn't worked out well for the Celtics. A lot of their changes have been they're changing the wrong guys or not changing the wrong guys. Check out the Pelicans. 5 updates in this cycle, and pretty much everybody on their team that struggled with their shot went down in rating. Herb Jones went up a point. He's been in their rotation for them. Sure. Yeah, there's not really much to really talk about. Yeah, let's give them a B and move on. Are they even an A, maybe? Yeah, sure. I'll graciously give them an A. All right, it's Pistons. What was their record? Oh, sorry, they were 4-4 since the last update cycle. So even though some of their production went down, they have been playing better. They just, I think, were a little overrated from the jump to begin with. And I think Valanciunas and Ingram, they have an 86 and an 83 overall guy. The issue is Ingram had been out before, and yeah. All right. Anyway, Detroit. 0-7 in this rating cycle. They've been awful. Sadiq Bey, he had his rating. That should be a 78. His rating dropped as he's really struggled this season to put the ball in the basket. Cunningham, he finally got penalized for his poor shooting this rookie season. 46 true shooting on 25 usage is not great. Isaiah Stewart likewise penalized for his shooting. Josh Jackson, and Diallo not penalized because he's shot the ball better. I guess they get a A? I don't know. B, maybe? Yeah, Killian Hayes, is not a good point guard, but he is not he's got a lower rating than his backup, Corey Joseph. He's got a lower rating than his third string, Saban Lee, who's barely played this year. So even though I'm not a Hayes fan, I think that is a big enough of a miss that I can't, even though they got the rest of the changes they made were positive, I can only give them a C, because if you're gonna mess up one of the starters that badly, what are you really doing? All right, Toronto Raptors 2-5 since 11-18. Gary Trent shot the ball a little better, so he goes up. Stido, Siakam, and Birch. Yeah, nothing else to write home about. We see once again another of these middle teams with only 3 updates this cycle. Much lower than the previous 2 updates. Anything notable? Nah, they're pretty consistent across the board. Bandon should probably go up a little bit. Boucher should probably drop a little bit. Only 45 true shooting for Boucher this season. I think he's having his worst season of his career. He's been in and out of the rotation a little bit. And yeah, shouldn't be on par with Khem Birch, I don't think, even though Achiuwa has been struggling. I think a 75 I'd be okay with for Boucher. Yeah, let's give a B for the Raptors otherwise. As Yeah, nothing really pops off the page that like 2K could have done better besides that. All right, Rockets 4-2 since 11-18. I think they've won like 6 in a row at press time. But Christian Wood, I guess, did better this update. Ditto Tate. I guess maybe Kevin Porter Jr. did too. I don't know. Jalen Green, likewise with Cunningham, he finally got penalized for his poor start. But with Eric Gordon dropping, like it's pretty crystal clear who the better player is between Eric Gordon and Jalen Green at the moment. Tice drops. He had not been playing well. Alperen Sengun has been thoroughly outplaying him. So at the very least, Tice has a lower rating than Sengun. Sengun probably should have gone up, if anything. Garrison Matthews in the rotation. And he's been shooting the ball well, so he goes up. I'll give a B for the Rockets. As at least they made steps in the right direction for the most part. All right, the Spurs 2-3 this update cycle. Lonnie Walker shot fell apart, so he drops in rating, and Doug McDermott likewise has not been scoring as efficiently this season. I think his rebound numbers are lower too. Never really been a steal or block monster, but those numbers are also pretty low for him. I think he's coming off the bench too now. Never mind, he's started all his games, but he did miss 4 in this cycle. So actually, his so he only played 2 games this cycle and had his rating dropped by 2 points. Okay, good talk. So this is why I dive a little deep on these guys sometimes. Thad Young, he's been playing really well, but just hasn't been able to get consistent minutes. I'm going to give a C for the Spurs. I really don't like that McDermott adjustment. Murray's been solid. And yeah, Pirtle's still too low. Pirtle's been out, but like he shouldn't be a 78. Yeah, all right, let's move on to the Phoenix Suns, who 7-0 since 11-18. They did not lose a game in November. So over that time, they've had a grand total of 5 rating edits. They won like what is it, 17 games in November, or 18 games? I don't think it could be 7. I think it's 18 games. Let's just check real quick. Well, it was 17 in a row for November. It was 16 games. Okay. But yeah, they went perfect, and their ratings barely got adjusted. Again, 2K's only focusing on offense, not defense. So, even though they were consistent across the board offensively, certainly they could have been updating their defensive ratings in order to make sure that they're a higher quality team. Guys like Michael Bridges, etc., Jay Crowder, Cam Johnson, etc., like good defensive players, they don't really get much love. Chris Paul, for him to only be an 89 when he's basically been on par with what he was last season. They dropped his rating, if anything, since the start of the year, but he's been pretty consistent. He gets to the line. Once we break down the positions, like it's going to look silly. Devin Booker went up at the very least by a whopping 1 point. But again, if we compare his production to Chris Paul's, I just don't understand why you'd have Booker at a 90 and then Paul at a lower rating. As production-wise, that doesn't make sense to me. Landry Shamit, he was underrated for a while. Finally, he gets to go up to a rating that he deserves. Although I don't quite follow why the third string center with only 9 games played is higher rated than like all of these backups. Higher rated than Jay Crowder. Ditto for JaVale McGee, rated higher than Jay Crowder. We'll give the Suns a C. Because, like, again, they didn't do anything crazy, but, like, they didn't go above and beyond. And for them to, again, only have 5 rating adjustments. If we compare, like, so the 5 rating adjustments, compare that to what the Warriors got once we get to them. I'll just say that, considering both these teams were at that same level over the last month. So, OKC, 0-7 since 11-18. 4 players went up in rating for them. Go figure. Lou Dort, he goes up. I had criticized 2K for not boosting him here in this previous cycle, where he averaged like 20 points per game over this 2-week period, but better late than never, I suppose. I don't understand why Darius Bazley rates lower than Poku, Gabriel Deck, just to name a few, like the guys that back him up. And I guess Ty Jerome and Trey Mann shot well or something. I don't know, whatever. Robinson Earl's been starting at center. But yeah, if we compare Darius Bazley to Poku production-wise, there isn't a single thing that Poku does better than Bazley. And yet he rates 3 points higher, which is ridiculous. And if we look at the production of like Mike Muscala, oh my god. Yep, they're very inconsistent. I'm giving the Thunder good enough. Yeah, no, they didn't drop Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at all. His production's been down. Yeah, F for the Thunder. Oh, look, second consecutive F in a row. Minnesota, 6-2 this update cycle. Anthony Edwards playing well. D'Angelo Russell back from the dead a little bit. Cat's been all right. Beasley still struggling. Tito McDaniels, Vanderbilt playing well, it looks like. Beverly should probably rate a little higher than a 79, but it's fine. Everybody else kind of so-so. You'll note that this is another team that only had 3 rating edits. I'll give the team a B. As I think guys like Josh Okogie could be a little higher, just a smidge higher. Naz Reid is probably a bit underrated relative to like Enes Freedom. All right, Portland, 3-3 since 11-18. They had a season low of 1 rating edit. This is the low for any team in NBA 2K this year. And Nurkic, he gets that lone boost, a +1. He's been playing extremely well for the team. Great scoring efficiency, rebounding, etc. But everybody else, they did not go down. Dame Lillard continues to be a 90 overall. Again, a higher rating than Chris Paul. If we look at the production, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. Lillard has been in the middle of basically the worst season of his career since becoming an all-NBA caliber player. And, 2K hasn't really penalized him aside from in the early going. He should have continued to drop, but they've not been willing to drop certain guys. And once we get to the actual position breakdown, that'll be a little clearer. Norm Norm Powell having the same rating as RJ Barrett is pretty funny. 63 true shooting, 18.6 PER. We'll give a C for the Blazers. Pretty much their only black mark is the Dame rating. I'd given them a D though before. Is there any? Well, yeah, Covington. Like PJ, they got PJ Tucker at 74, who's having a better season than Robert Covington. Looks like Dennis Smith Jr. got into rotation a little bit. It doesn't seem like he's shooting the ball well. Yeah, I'll tentatively give them a C. All right, Golden State, 4 rating updates this cycle. And, oops, I did not sort this one. Oh, damn it. Oh, god damn it. There we go. Yeah, so 4 rating adjustments for the Golden State Warriors. Basically, the 4 starters not named Curry. They will go up. Draymond Green, long overdue. Basically having his best season in years since 2015, when he was a Defensive Player of the Year caliber guy. Jordan Poole's been shooting the ball a little better. Ditto for Andrew Wiggins. And Curry, looks like his shoot efficiency slipped a little bit, but 2K did not penalize him. They boosted him to a 97 in the last update, but let's see what he actually shot in this rating cycle. Yeah, 45%, 43 from 3. Worth noting he shot 4 of 21 in the previous game right before the update. He did also have this 2 for 10 game to drag things down a little bit. Yeah, so 2K was clearly a little selective. And they've always overrated him just a little bit. But looking at the rest of the team, Gary Payton II, again, like 22.4 PER, 73 true shooting, 5 steal percent, but only 72 overall. And we had already torched 2K for not updating. They updated every other role player on the team except for Gary Payton last cycle. And then they did it again. They like his production's off the charts. And it just really sells home the point that I made this video, that like the only thing that they are changing is the 3-point rating. So for Gary Payton II, who's not a volume 3-point shooter, he's got no path to improve his rating because they're not looking at anything else very clearly. Has been in the rotation all year. %, 7 points per game, 1.8 steals in only 17 minutes. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. And aside from nothing, and aside from just adjusting the 3-point rating. So, um, we are giving a D's to the Warriors because the Peyton thing just counts for a lot. That is a substantial part of their team that is being neglected at the moment. And they could have dropped Curry back down to like a 96 also based on this don't get me wrong, all this is good, so I guess maybe I have to give them a C. If they had adjusted Gary Payton II, this is an easy A. I'm willing to look past the Curry stuff, but the fact that they didn't, they lose significant points off their grade. It looks like I had the same conversation last cycle as well. All right, and let's finish off with the Wizards, and it looks like I did not sort them again either. So sort range. All right. 6 updates for the Wizards in this cycle, which totals what they averaged, or they had 6 previously leading up to this cycle, which was the lowest number for a team. So they had their rating at its doubled on the year. Kuzma drops a little bit. They're 4-4 in this rating cycle. Kuzma drops a little bit. His shooting had fallen off. Bradley Beal still being an 89 is ridiculous. This was ridiculous a month ago. For him to not get adjusted at all this season is a joke. He's basically been on par with say Jason Tatum. And when we look at once we get to the 2 guards and stuff in a few moments, it's going to be pretty clear just how shitty these rating edits have been at the when we break things down positionally. KCP's been solid. It was a pretty good rating for him as a starting 3. But Montrezl Harrell's production has been absurd. No rating adjustment for him though. 70 true shooting, a 28 PER. Solid rebounding, getting to the line. Dinwiddie drops a little bit just because of his shooting numbers. Avia goes up a little bit. He's been playing pretty solid defense and not killing him on offense or anything. Nato has been a little worse offensively this cycle. And Dan Gafford returned from injury to continue doing what he does, which is dunk the ball and block shots. So we will give the Wizards, I guess a B. Their only black stain is not adjusting Beal. And Harrell should be a little lower. Maybe that's a C then. Yeah, they haven't dropped Bertans at all that much. Duncan Robinson's been struggling. What is Bertans? Yeah, I'm going to give a C for the Wizards. All right. So let's move on to the position breakdown. And we're going to start with the point guards. And we see Trey Young. He went up this update cycle by a grand total of 1 point. As mentioned previously, he's having basically the second best season for a point guard outside of Steph Curry. Should be rated higher than... I personally have Trey Young at a 93. So I wouldn't say that he should be higher than Luka, but certainly in the same ballpark. Dame Lillard, for him to be a 90 compared to Ja and Trey is a fucking joke, to be honest. As again, when we look at the rest of the players on this list, you have to go down to Mike Conley to find a player who's Conley, Russell Westbrook, Fred VanVleet, Darius Garland. This is the ballpark for Dame Lillard this year. There's no way that he should be a 90 right now. Darius Garland, this is partly... I did think that they overshot on him a little bit. Again, if we look at the rating for Mike Conley, who was an all-star last season and has the Jazz as the number one offense in the NBA right now. Like Fred VanVleet, De'Aaron Fox, who's like a little more established than Garland. Russell Westbrook, who's like, he's still Russell Westbrook at the end of the day. So yeah, I didn't think that Garland needed to get a +1. I think an 83 was just fine for him. I'm going to move Tyler Hero to the 2 guards. As I changed his position once Gabe Vincent entered the rotation. Previously, I had Hero listed as a point guard because Vincent was out of the rotation, but now that he's back, we can afford to count him there. So basically, the best backup point guard in the NBA has been Derrick Rose. Rubio's shooting fell off a little bit. His rating's fine, but again, if we look at Jalen Brunson, as I mentioned before, his production's basically on par with Rose, but there's a pretty big gap between the two of them. Cole Anthony probably should have gone up a little bit in this rating cycle. Again, if we compared him to Darius Garland, his production, he's been outplaying D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie. Yeah, Maxey continued to go up. I didn't talk about Maxey in the Sixers section, but he's been playing pretty well. Yeah, what grade did I give the Magic? A D. Let's check the Magic out again. Am I going to reevaluate that? Yeah, I you know what? I have no problem giving them an F. All right, F for the Magic, based on the merit of the Cole Anthony thing. We see Kemba Walker here. He dropped down a point in rating, but again, if we compared him to like Devontae Graham, like again, I think this kind of sells home that I don't think Kemba necessarily like played his way out of the Knicks rotation or anything, so much as like the coaching staff kind of failed him, or they have like some kind of weird expectations for him. I don't know what they're really looking for there. I've got THT as a point guard because it's more or less where he's getting his minutes at the moment, now that LeBron and company are healthy. Yeah, the Kevin Porter Jr., him going up in rating, yeah, it definitely seemed a little weird to me because production-wise, yeah, he starts, but like, his production-wise, he's not nowhere close to anybody production-wise here. You'd have to go down to at 556 minutes. Like, is there anybody who's been that bad in that, like, a comparable amount of minutes? Not really. Corey Joseph, I guess. Yeah, of course, here's Killian Hayes, starting point guard, in the bottom 20 of point guards, and half of these guys are on two-way contracts. So, yeah, that's pretty bad. For Killian Hayes to be a 71, and then for, I guess Hayes is the guy who's a good example. For Hayes to be a 71, and then KPJ to be a 76, something's a little off about that, but let's go to the two guards. Devin Booker, he goes up, but as like I'm technically okay with that, but you can't do that if you're not going to drop Bradley Beal, As we see, night and day, like Zach LaVine's been the better player all season long. Donovan Mitchell's been the better player all season long. And Donovan Mitchell somehow went down in this rating cycle. Mitchell's been the best two guard in the NBA. And he went down. Wild. SGA did not drop. Penalized the Thunder grade for that before. As we see, he's not really having a year better than Jalen Brown, CJ, etc. We guess that the two rookies, Green and Cunningham, definitely overrated relative to their actual production. When we compare them to Grayson Allen or Patty Mills, it's pretty fucking night and day. We get to the group of two guards that basically have all been struggling. Jeremy Lamb is outplayed pretty much all these 10 guys above him. Ditto Josh Richardson. I wouldn't be surprised if Richardson became a starter again for after the trade deadline. I don't know if he's going to be in Boston long term. For Joe Harris to have a rating on par with RJ Hampton is fucking bizarre. Given, again, 62 true shooting, Joe Harris, Landry Shamit, come on guys. For Joe Harris to even be like Duncan Robinson has struggled, but he hasn't struggled that bad. Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, Joe Harris is 1 point better than Gary Harris. Okay, sure. Alrighty. We're going over the small forwards. As mentioned before, Jimmy Butler outplaying LeBron. LeBron has not had his rating penalized at all, and that just looks silly over here, as we can see that Jimmy has basically outplayed him across the board. Tatum has not gone down, and again, I mentioned the DeRozan, him not dropping. Again, that just looks foolish when you look at Jason Tatum, or DeRozan did drop in this update, but has thoroughly outplayed Tatum throughout the season, and is now outplaying Paul George by a considerable margin. So, and I mean, if we want to compare LeBron right now to DeMar DeRozan, the only thing LeBron really has him at the moment is like his assist rate. I guess steals, blocks, assists. That's it. He's not getting to the line. He used to get to the line like this, but not at the moment. Yeah, so DeRozan pretty clearly underrated. Edwards going up and Middleton going down. That's solid when we look at the stats. OG Anunoby should probably be a little higher, considering he's basically like Michael Bridges, but with a little more offensive usage. RJ Barrett, L-O-fucking-L. Damn, that you're bad when like Andrew Wiggins is fucking like smoking you in the fucking depth chart or in the stat categories. Norm Powell, ditto. We mentioned is somebody who just like exemplifies just how atrocious this rating is. This is a typo. 78. 676 minutes. not dropping in rating. That looks a little sus. Definitely should have Desmond Bane higher than him right now. Bay probably should drop a little further than the 78. Either Bay should drop more, or guys like Tate, Ingles, Reddish, Thibault, Green, etc. They should go up. Ross, as mentioned, should not be in the same league as Franz Wagner at the moment, and that's when we look at the other guys around them, basically the same conversation. I'm okay with all these. Romeo Langford. I didn't touch on Langford in this cycle. Where is he at? But again, 323 minutes. He's been in the Celtics rotation, but is only a 69 overall. Power forwards. KD goes down a little bit. Sure, I guess. If you're going to drop KD, then maybe at least bring up Giannis, maybe, who's obviously a better two-way player and is producing at 60 true shooting, getting to the line, great rebounding, best block rate of his career. I think this is the second best assist rate of his career. Like, what more is he supposed to do? I don't know. Davis going down, again, that kind of looks silly when we go here. Tobias Harris went down to the level of Domantas Sabonis. This just kind of sells just how good Porzingis has been. He's been better than Sabonis this year, and Harris has been pretty bad, all things considered. I think it's pretty clear that Harris should be in the 74 range. Collins and KP should be a little higher. I didn't touch much on Siakam, but he's more or less back to normal. You could make an argument for him going up a point. Wendell Carter Jr., I kind of glassed over him on the Magic too, but kind of same conversation. Poor man's Christian Wood not taking as many threes, I don't think, but everything else is pretty solid across the board. Let me actually go in and check him out. 36 from 3, 1.4 of 4 shots per game. Yeah, so I think Wood has slightly higher usage. Wood wants more touches. The guards on the Rockets are kind of ball hogging between KPG and Jalen Green. Should be getting him more involved. Yeah, Wood's only averaging 16.5 points per game. His production is down from last year, but that's not necessarily all of his fault. 1.7 threes, 4.5 threes. Yeah, I think a poor man's Christian Wood is kind of where I'd evaluate Wendell Carter Jr. And maybe depending on how their defensive numbers line up, etc. You can make a minor case for Carter being higher than Wood. Looks like Carter's probably a better scorer from 2-point range. Let's actually check that. Twos, 62% from 2, whereas Wood only 52% from 2. Yeah. So I think I'd actually argue for Carter to be like an 84 or something like that. Green going up is totally fine. Yeah, the Barnes dropping in this update cycle. Again, this looks silly once we look at the numbers. Again, Tobias Harris basically up here. 4 points of separation. It doesn't really, not really buying it. Aaron Gordon probably should be a little higher. Again, he's in the same vein as the Draymond Green. I don't think he should necessarily be separated from guys like Miles Bridges, Scotty Barnes, Jeremy Grant, etc. I think he's in the same tier. Marvin Bagley the third never got dropped. They did that for Enes Kanter and like somebody else who was out of the rotation, Moses Brown, but they haven't done that to Bagley yet. Rudy Gay, pretty clearly, mentioned him as a candidate to go up moving forward. Him and Obi Toppin are permanent monsters. Ditto for like Otto Porter as well. We saw Marcus Morris fall off a little bit. He's got to come around with his shot or he'll continue to drop. Paul Reed has played well in his minutes, so we'll see if he continues to get those. Yeah, that's pretty much all we got for the power forwards, so let's check out the centers. And as mentioned, Joker producing like a monster. One of the best regular season players of all time. Thoroughly outplaying Joel Embiid. It's not even remotely close right now. So Embiid is somebody whose rating should drop. He only played like 1 or 2 games in this rating cycle, so that's why they didn't adjust his rating. But it's pretty clear that like either Embiid needs to go down or Joker needs to go up or both. Gobert, him being 5 points separated from Embiid, I think is kind of silly. As again, this is one of the highest defensive rebound rates. He's getting to the line at an absurd rate right now. His previous high was like 50-something%, and now he's at 86, 87% for his free throw field goal rate. Still a great defensive player. He is the system in Utah, much in the same way that like Draymond Green is the system in Golden State. The only thing he doesn't do is post up, but that's not really that important for a modern big man. Townsend Valanciunas has been solid. Ayton didn't play a ton in this update cycle, I think. But I guess he's okay being in the same ballpark as Jonas. Miles Turner, I'm positive that he was underrated, but maybe not relative. Like, I guess he's not his rebound rating is what drags him down. He is the worst rebounder on the among the top centers, it looks like. Only Karl Anthony Towns has a lower defensive rebound rate, and he's definitely got the lowest offensive rebound rate out of everybody. But he is the best three-point shooter probably out of all these fives. So, at the very least, it should be pretty clear that he needs to be better than Nick Vucevic, who's at a 16-point differential between their true shooting. He gets to the line twice as much. Isn't nearly the shot blocker. Yeah, I think Turner's going to be on a new team moving forward, and I think that might get him the recognition that he needs once he gets traded. Holmes and Harrell being this low is a little insane. Again, if we were to compare like Holmes to let's say Jared Allen, production-wise, they're pretty similar. One plays for the Kings and one plays for the Cavs. The Cavs are playing well, but it's not all because of Jared Allen. It's because they got Evan Mobley and stuff. For Turner to be 1 point higher than Bobby Portis was a little weird. I'll throw that out there. Yeah, Aldridge way too low. Oh, whoops. Okay, Alec Burks. So let's bring him back to the point guards. What's his minutes? 45. Should have a higher rating than Kemba Walker, for sure. Or Josh Giddey at the very least. I think Josh Giddey is a good benchmark for like what Alec Burks is. Guys like Zubats and Pirtle are too low. For guys like Zubats and Pirtle to have the same rating as fucking Enes Freedom, that's ridiculous. And obviously for them to be rated lower than Dwight Howard, likewise ridiculous. Or even Nemanja Bjelica, who's like a center in like name only. Yep. All right, there we have it. That is the 2K roster analysis for this week. Sorry, it was about a week late, so I'll try to make sure that the update for when is the next one? The next one projects to be on December 16th in about 8 days. So I'll try to have that one out on time. Hopefully my throat will be up to snuff. I mostly got through this unscathed. Only had one like coughing outburst. So pretty happy about that. And yeah, excited to see how the 2K roster continues to progress throughout the year. This is my 2K roster. You can download it there. It's currently for the PS4 only. I have not decided to get when or if I'm going to get a PS5. I'm not going to deal with the scalpers or anything like that. So once the craze for it wears off, that's probably when I'll pick up an upgrade. But it's not something that's been in the like my immediate plans or anything. I don't do a ton of gaming nowadays. It's more or less just keeping up with 2K, which is pretty much just looking over spreadsheets. I don't need to improve the quality. I don't need to spend like $500 to improve the quality of my spreadsheets. You know what I mean? Like, I'll get to it when I get to it. But thank you again, guys, for watching. And yeah, feel free to, if you like this content, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Show some support and love. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments. I do read all of them. I don't always have a chance to get back to all of them in a necessarily timely fashion, but I do. When I can, I do. And yeah, hit the like button to improve your YouTube algorithm and make sure that 2K roster content pops up more often if that's what you are into. Otherwise, have a great day, have a great night, and enjoy your holiday season. Peace.